Hi everyone, welcome back to Monroe City Schools TV. My name is Miss Mainring and I teach at Cypress Point University Elementary. Today we are going to be continuing to learn about hurricanes and we are going to look closely at the text features in our book. So hopefully in front of you, you have a pencil and a piece of paper. If you need to pause this video and go grab that now, please do so. So yesterday in our lesson, we identified examples of first-hand accounts in our text. We also learned that first-hand accounts often reflect the speaker's emotions and personal experiences. So our goals today we are going to determine how text features contribute or add on to our understanding of the text. We are also going to identify and analyze text features in Surviving Hurricanes Children's True Stories by Elizabeth Romm, which is the book we've been reading so far in this unit. So first off, we need to figure out what is a text feature. A text feature is any part of the passage that is not the main body of the text. So you may have noticed when we were reading the past few days that our story didn't look exactly like a story you may read at home. It had different charts, it had pictures. Those are all text features. Why would authors use text features? One reason authors will use text features is to help the readers find their way around the text. It makes it a little bit easier to find information. Also, text features make the text eye-catching and more interesting to read. And then lastly, text features can provide more information about the content of what the writer is talking about. So we are going to go through and look at different text features that you can find in nonfiction text, specifically Surviving Hurricanes Children's True Stories. So our first text feature is our table of contents. The table of contents tells us what is in the book and what page it's on. So if I were to look at this right here, I see my contents. Introduction could be found on page 4. Then I have the different sections of our book. So if I were looking to read about Darwin, Australia in 1974, what page would I turn to? That's right, I would flip to page 12. So your table of contents is where you can find where the information is in your text. One really cool part about nonfiction books is that you do not have to read them in order. We know that stories that we read, you have to read it from beginning to end, or it won't make any sense. But nonfiction books, you can read them out of order. Already, the past 2 days, we've read about the Galveston hurricane and the New Orleans hurricane. We've skipped past the introduction and Darwin, Australia. That's okay. Nonfiction text you can read in a different order, which makes this table of contents really helpful. Next, we have our heading. Your heading tells us what that section of text is all about. So if I look at that example, you see your heading, they're often bigger text and they're bold. It stands out from the rest of the passage. So this section is about leaving home. This next heading says stuck in the city. So I know the paragraph following that heading will be about being stuck in the city during a hurricane. Our next text feature is a picture. A picture could be a photograph, a real picture that was taken, or it could be a drawing of an event or anything else in the text. So here we have a real photograph that we've already looked at, and this is of houses that are covered in water that were flooded during Hurricane Katrina. Now you may be saying, Miss Manry, how do I know what the picture is of? If I were to look at that, it just looks like a lot of brown. How do you know that that picture is of houses being flooded? Well, your caption tells you what the photo or drawing is about. So here my caption says floodwaters covered the city of New Orleans. It tells me what I'm looking at when I see that picture. So your captions and your pictures work together as a team to teach you in the text. Our next text feature is a map. A map shows readers an area of land. So we see here, this is a map of the hurricane that hit Galveston and the route that it took. And next we have a table. So tables really help us compare and contrast information in a really easy way to read. Rather than going through the text and finding all the information, a table or a chart, it may be called, helps you see the direction or the information really clearly. So here, this is a table of the different categories of hurricanes. So the top, it says the intensity of the hurricane. Then it tells us the wind speed and the damage that may occur. So really quickly, if I were to ask you, what wind speed does a Category 3 hurricane have? You could look at your chart and tell me that it gets up to 178 to 209 kilometers per hour. That's pretty fast. If I were to ask you about the damage that a Category 4 hurricane can have, you could find that really quickly in your table. I know this is a lot, just hang with me and then we'll look at it in the text in just a moment. So we have our bold words. So anytime an author bolds the words or makes it a little bit thicker than the other words in the text, that tells us that these words are important. These words are words that we should know the meaning of. Sometimes in nonfiction texts, these bold words may be found in a glossary later. A glossary is kind of like a tiny dictionary just for that book. So it defines important words in the passage. So here in our glossary, we can find the meaning of words like moisture, debris, or a disaster center. These are all words that are important to our text. So now I want you to think about, how do these text features that we just went over help readers better understand the text? Today we're going to be reading the text and looking and see if we can answer that question. So a quick review. Can anyone tell me, what do authors use to tell us that words are important in the text? That's right, they bold those words. Those are bold words. If I were to be looking for where to find something in a text, what text feature could I turn to? Shout it out. You're right, the table of contents. So let's read. We're going to read about 2 new hurricanes today. And let's look for text features. So in this first page, I see at the very top, it's Darwin, Australia, 1974. These are really big and bold words. I know this whole section will be about Darwin, Australia. Now, when I first look at this page, I automatically see this big map. Why do you think the author would include such a big map here? Well, I don't know about you, but I've never been to Australia, so I may not know exactly where Darwin is. We can see that in this text, the author shows us where Darwin is on the map. That way we can imagine, where is this in relation to us in Louisiana? So let's read. On December 24th, 1974, 8-year-old Anthony Hayward went to bed dreaming about Christmas presents. He did not know that a hurricane was headed for his hometown of Darwin, Australia. The storm had formed in the RFC northeast of Darwin. As meteorologists at the Tropical Cyclone Warning Center watched, the storm slowed and seemed to be turning away. then it looped back toward Darwin. And again, we have our map here, and we have our caption, which says Darwin is on the coast of Australia's Northern Territory. This map shows the path of Cyclone Tracy. So this caption tells me, that is the path of Cyclone Tracy. Now let's read. On this next page, I see a heading at the top. It says Midnight Visitor. So in this next paragraph, we'll be learning about what is this midnight visitor. Cyclone Tracy, a Category 5 hurricane, struck the city of Darwin at midnight. Antony's mother woke Antony and his younger brother Steve just before midnight. She rushed the boys into her bedroom, wrapped them in blankets, and pushed them under her big bed. Then she crawled in beside them. Steve fell asleep, but not Antony. The wind howled, windows shattered, and water dripped onto his face. And then I see a picture, and our caption says, few houses remained standing after the hurricane. I want to stop really quick and talk about why do you think the author included this picture on this page? Well, I can see that this picture is of a destroyed house. Earlier in the text, it talks about how Antony was in his room. It says the winds howled, windows shattered, and water dripped onto his face. So this picture shows us the destruction that was happening outside when that wind was howling and the windows were shattering. The first thing I see on this page is a picture. Our caption says, after the hurricane passed, these people walked the streets of Darwin looking at the damage. A pile of bricks. When morning arrived, Antony, Steve, and their mother crawled out of the wreckage. They had survived, but the house was just a pile of bricks. Antony refused to leave home. After all, it was Christmas Day. He searched for the presents that had been underneath the Christmas tree. All he found was a broken action figure for his brother, a toy gun for himself, and a blouse with flowers on it for his mother. It was all they had left. So in this section, under the heading A Pile of Bricks, it talks about the destruction in Antony's home. I know that this picture up here shows the destruction. So I think the author chose to include that picture there to help us understand what Antony was seeing when he walked the streets of Darwin. Now at the bottom we have number crunching. This chart shows the damage caused by Cyclone Tracy. So remember, we know a chart or a table helps us find information really quickly. So in this chart we can see the deaths, injuries, ships lost at sea, buildings destroyed, and evacuees from Cyclone Tracy. Our next page, evacuating. Again, another heading. So this text must be about evacuating or leaving the city. Cyclone Tracy destroyed Darwin. It was one of the worst natural disasters in Australia's history. Most people evacuated, or they left Darwin immediately after the storm. Antony and his family moved in with relatives in Perth, Western Australia. People across the country provided temporary homes, supplies, and money. As the city was rebuilt, people moved back. The new buildings were built to survive hurricane winds. Now I see a picture here. It looks like a man, his wife, and 3 boys. Our caption says, today, Antony enjoys camping with his friends near Alice Springs, Australia. Wow, so this picture is actually of Antony and his family. This caption helps me understand that that's of Antony. If the caption weren't there, then I would have no idea who the people in that picture were. And at the bottom it says Antony's life now. Today, Antony works for the electric company that helped bring power back to Darwin after the cyclone. I love Darwin, he says. My boys are fascinated when they see photos of Darwin after Tracy hit. And that was the end of our reading on Cyclone Tracy. So as you can see, our text features added a lot. They have pictures to explain what's happening in the text. The author had charts to help us easily find information. I want to look at Bangladesh, the hurricane in Bangladesh, and I want you to look for more text features there. So Bangladesh 2007. Again, we have a nice big bold heading. So I know that everything on these next few pages will be about Bangladesh in 2007. I want you to look at page 22. What is the first thing you see? What's the first thing that catches your eye? Yeah, I agree. The map here really catches my eye at first. It says this map shows the route of Cyclone Sidr and the low-lying land that was flooded by the storm surge. So again, the author chose to include a map. Why would he do that? Well, it helps us understand where this area of land is. Because most of us have not been to Bangladesh, and we may not even know where that is on the globe, but this map helps us see that so we can better understand the text around this chapter. Okay, let's get to reading. Cyclone Sidr, a powerful Category 4 hurricane, hit Bangladesh in November of 2007. Over 3,000 people died. Most people died in floods caused by the storm surge. I want to stop right now. Do you see that bolded word at the end of the sentence? I see that storm surge is bolded. This tells me that storm surge is an important word for us to know. Now, we may not know what storm surge is, but I remember that we can go to the glossary to figure it out. So if I were to flip to my glossary at the back of my book, I could look and I would see that storm surge is seawater that is pushed onto the land by hurricane winds. So when it says it was caused, that floods were caused by the storm surge is the water that was pushed onto the land. So that makes sense. It would flood the land that it hit. All right, we're going to continue reading. I see a heading, Lamia's story. So this must be about Lamia and her experience during the hurricane. 7-year-old Lamia and her family lived near the coast of Bangladesh in a village called Charbangla. When her teacher warned the cyclone was on the way, Lamia and 5 friends went door to door warning villagers to go to the cyclone shelter. Many did, but Lamia's father refused. Lamia grabbed his hand and pulled until he agreed to take shelter. Lamia and her friends saved many lives that day. Wow, Lamia must be really brave. On page 23, dangerous play. Many homes and schools were damaged by the cyclone. Some children played among the debris. Wow, I see a bold word there that I may not know the meaning of. Where could I find the definition of the word debris? You're right, you can go to the glossary. So let's flip to the glossary. And I want you to look and see, can you find the meaning of the word debris? You're right, we see it's our second word here. And debris is the remains of things broken or destroyed, litter or garbage. So children were playing in broken and destroyed things. That goes back to our heading. It sounds pretty dangerous. They searched for anything that might be useful. However, it was dangerous play. The debris included sharp items, pieces of metal, and even downed power lines. Now see our picture here, it looks like a woman standing. Let's look at our caption to see if we can find out what is this picture of. Many houses in the village of Bangladesh are not built out of strong materials. This woman's house was destroyed by the hurricane. And you can really see her house was destroyed. It looks like everything behind it is ruined. Why do you think the author chose to put this picture here? Think about, what was this text up here about? It was about children playing in debris. If you look closely at that picture, you can see in the background there's tons of debris. There's tons of damaged items, broken wood, it looks like trash from the hurricane. I can also see people standing in it. Maybe that's the children who are looking through the debris for items to help them. In the bottom, we have number crunching. It is thought that more than 80% of those killed in Cyclone Sitter were children. They were not able to swim or escape the storm surge fast enough. Many other children were injured or lost family members. Our last 2 pages. Hang on with me, guys. We're almost done. A terrible toll. Again, another heading. So this must be telling me about the toll that the hurricane had. During hurricanes, high winds and floods kill people and livestock, destroy buildings, and ruin crops. As a very poor country, Bangladesh is vulnerable to natural disasters. This is because families often have poor housing and not enough money to be able to leave an area if they are at risk. Cyclone Sitter caused serious food and water shortages. In the weeks after the cyclone, people became ill by drinking unclean water. Others suffered from snake bites as they waded through floodwaters. In our picture, it says people waited for deliveries of clean water and food after the cyclone. And it looks like this woman is getting food from this man right here. So again, this proves that people needed food and water. She was waiting to get food and water because she didn't have any at her house. Helping Hand. By June 2008, Save the Children had provided food to 176,000 families, medicine for 80,000 people, and provided safe play areas for 20,000 children in Bangladesh. Rebuilding. Again, I see another heading. This tells me that this must be about rebuilding. If I were looking to see, how did Bangladesh rebuild after the hurricane? I could find that information on page 25. Rebuilding. Relief groups such as UNICEF and Save the Children brought water, food, and basic supplies such as cooking pots, matches, and soap. Plastic sheets help protect hurricane victims from the rain. Many other groups and countries offered aid. Repairing the damage from Cyclone Sitter will take years. I have a picture of a woman here. I'm not quite sure who that is, but I bet you if I read my caption, I can find out. In December 2007, pop singer Shakira visited Bangladesh as a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. She met children affected by Cyclone Sitter. So that's Shakira in the picture, and she was there to help the children after Cyclone Sitter. Number crunching. And I see a chart right there. So this chart must be helping me find information quickly. It says since 1980, more than 600,000 people in Bangladesh have died in tropical cyclones, most from drowning. The chart below shows the terrible losses caused by Cyclone Sitter throughout Bangladesh. So I want us to see, how can we use this chart? If I were to ask you how many schools were affected, you could easily look and see that 9,202 schools were affected. If I were to ask you how many people were killed during Cyclone Sitter, you could easily look at this chart and see that 3,033 people were killed during the storm. Again, charts help us find that information really quickly. The author could have written this out in a paragraph, but he knew that it'd be easier for the readers to see that on a chart. So before we get to the end, I want to talk about our question that we mentioned earlier. Why do authors include text features in their writing? Well, as we've seen in these pages that we've read, authors include text features to help readers better understand the information. Authors know that they could put that all in a paragraph, but instead they include pictures, charts, headings to help us easily see what's going on in this text and picture it better in our mind. So in this lesson, you've learned that the text features in Surviving Hurricanes Children's True Stories add information to the text that help readers better understand the text. Great job, you guys. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for watching today. I'll see y'all next time. Bye, guys.